Testing, 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 testing. 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're gonna do a test with the Sony FX30. I have the Sony 18-105 f4 power zoom lens on the body of the FX30, and I want to do a couple of focal length tests. I'm going to have the aperture set at f5.6. I plan on doing some tests where I shoot things in a specific f-stop for a series of videos, or maybe like per short. So I want to do like a short film where I only use f4, and then another one where I only use 5.6, and then another one where I only use f8 for my own scientific tests. I'm going to be doing that. So for right now, we have the FX30 Sony 18-105 shooting at an aperture of f5.6 for every focal length we'll be testing. So I got a couple of tape markers on the floor for myself so I can reference and be in the same spot for every test that we're doing today. So right now we are at 18 millimeters, f5.6, and right now I am hopefully in the middle of the frame. I think about right there is okay. Also, what is that? Oh no, that's just a guide. So I am 4.5 feet away from the camera right now. This is the FX30 Sony 18-105 shooting at f5.6. This is me 4.5 feet away, my face from the lens of the camera. We're 4.5 feet away. So I guess if I was like in a dialogue scene and I was talking to somebody and I was shooting at 18 millimeters on the FX30, this is what it would look like. I think I got enough room. The way that I have my camera on sticks as well. Definitely going to do a video about this because, geez Louise, how many different options are there out there for you for cinema sticks or just like tripods in general? A ton, if you didn't know. But I think I'm really happy with the choice that I made. Anyway, so yeah, this is what 18 millimeters looks like on the Sony FX30 at 4.5 feet away. You have characters and dialogue. Hey, what's up? Oh yeah, nothing, hanging out. What's up with you? Cool, just being 4.5 feet away from an 18 millimeter lens. Nothing too crazy. All right, so let's step back. So we are still at 18 millimeters. This is me 6.5 feet away from the front of the lens, from the glass of the lens at 18 millimeters on the Sony FX30. Characters and dialogue, oh my gosh, as long as I stay like right here, I'm about 6.5 feet away from an 18 millimeter lens. So definitely way more room above the head. I feel like, the camera could be lowered if necessary, but, we're going to keep it on the sticks at its height. And I chose that height because, let me go forward a little bit. At 4.5, like this was, that felt right. And we'll see how this works later on in this test, but we're starting off with 18. I don't really want to move too much stuff, but anyway, 6.5 feet. So this is what 6.5 feet away from the front of the lens looks like on our Sony FX30. Now, this is the last tape measuring point that I have. This is 8.5 feet away. So at 18 millimeters, 8.5 feet away, this is what it looks like. Am I in the middle? Did I lose the middle? Yeah. 8.5 feet away, 18 millimeters on the FX30 Sony 18-105 f4, but we are going to be shooting at f5.6 for this test. So this is what that looks like. I had a table right here that I don't want to move for continuity now, but yeah, definitely from 8.5 feet away, you got a lot of room to. What are you? You were just 4.5 feet away, and now you're 8.5 feet away. What are you doing? Hey man, I'm just living my life, moving 2 feet at a time. That's what I'm doing. So 8.5 feet away. I mean, I guess I was kind of moving within this 8.5 feet, but you get the gist. This is 8.5 feet. I'm going to assume this is like 10.5 feet, but I got a wall behind me. So here we are, just for the sake of crossing all our T's and dotting our I's. FX30, Sony 18-105, shooting at f5.6 from 8.5 feet away. This is what it looks like. Now we're at 6.5 feet away. Yeah, you got it. And then now we're at 4.5 feet away. Cool. That was cool. That was good. Now I'm going to manually adjust my zoom to, I think I'm interested in 24 millimeters. So we're going to go from 18 to 24 millimeters right now. All right. We're back. And autofocus is on. Yep. So this is still the FX30. We are still using the Sony 18-105 f4 lens. We're shooting it at f5.6, but yeah, we are now at 24 millimeters, and this is what it looks like on our system today for this test. So it's 4.5 feet away at 24 millimeters. We're at 24 millimeter focal length on our rig right now. So this is what it looks like at 4.5 feet away. If I was talking to somebody, hey, what, fuck, you're way closer than you were before. Yeah, I know. It's because we zoomed in a bit. We were at 18, but now we are at 24 millimeters, which I believe is like 36 millimeters equivalent. And another thing about the equivalent thing, I was reading on Reddit, some guy was getting flack for not understanding. I don't understand what it is, but somebody did say something. They're like, no matter what, your focal length is always going to be your focal length. It's just how the image is presented on an APS-C or a 35 millimeter sensor versus a full frame sensor. So even if you had an 18 millimeter lens, it'll always be 18 millimeters, but it's just how it's cropped in on the set. Kind of made sense, but didn't make sense. I'm learning. Who cares? So yeah, this is what it looks like right now. So I'm going to step back, bam, this is 6.5 feet away. And I chose 18. 18 is going to be the widest that this lens can go. The Sony 18-105 f4 lens. And I got it. Of all the lenses that I could have purchased, I waited a fair amount of time to get a zoom lens for my FX30 body, but ultimately this just ended up being the one that I chose of all the zoom lenses that I could have purchased, and maybe I'll do a video on why that is. But what I can say right now is I'm pretty happy with it. So this is 6.5 feet away from our camera setup at 24 millimeters. F6. So this is what that looks like. Hey, I guess what I was going to say is, so I'm choosing for this test a couple of different lenses. I'll talk to my imaginary partner in this scene. Would you like to know why I'm choosing these lenses? Sure, tell me, now that we are 6.5 feet away from the camera body. I'm very interested in knowing why you're choosing these three focal lengths. Yeah, so 18 because it's the widest that this lens can go. 24 because I'm considering purchasing a prime cinema lens, and 24 for me feels really good. So, the cool thing about this lens is I can choose between 18 and 105 a lens focal length that works well with me with the FX30 body. And I really like how 24 millimeters looks on the FX30. And I think it comes out to about 35 millimeters, give or take some millimeters. But so this is what 24 millimeters would look like on your FX30 or your APS-C body if you got a 24 millimeter prime or 23 millimeter. This is what it would look like at 6.5 feet away from the lens. And, remember, this is what it looks like 4.5 feet away. So we'll go back to our final marking point that we have. This is what 24 millimeters on the Sony FX30 would look like if your subject was 8.5 feet away from camera. I'm planning on doing some sitcom kind of stuff. I kind of want to do a 5 to 8 episode arcing story, shoulder mounted, kind of always sunny in Philadelphia style. And, 24 seems okay. Like when I look at that show and I see some behind the scenes stuff, I kind of feel like the camera person has got to be like 10 feet to 15 feet away. I've never worked on a set like that before. I've hardly worked on any sets before, but, yeah, I'm going to say maybe they're 10, 15 feet away, but this is what being 8.5 feet away from the camera looks like at 24 millimeters. I feel like you could put two bodies in here. Usually when I'm looking at these sitcoms, they're kind of like more waist up. So maybe like the 6.5 is better for a scene, but yeah, here we go. So yeah, we're at 8.5 feet, 24 millimeters, on the FX30. Using the 18-105 f4. And if you're watching this, I don't know if I'm going to cut any of this, like cut it together. I feel like I'm just going to let it ride. I've been really enjoying letting things ride as opposed to like chopping it and, taking out breaths and, giving it rhythm. Like, I think fuck it, just let it ride like a river, yeah, let it go. So cool. 8.5 feet away at 24 millimeters, 6.5 feet away, and 4.5 feet away. We are now going to go to my third focal length. I feel like up until this point, I've been saying we're going to do, maybe I haven't, I don't remember, but yeah, we're going to go to a third focal length, which is going to be 35 millimeters, I believe. So I'm going to do 35 millimeters, and then right after that, I think I'm going to go for 75 millimeters. So yeah. 35, 34. Yeah, let's do 34. I think 34. And the reason is because I'm looking at these Samyang lenses right now. No, we're gonna do 35. These Samyang V autofocus cine lenses. And like a lot of us, if you're watching this, you probably find yourself in the same boat. You just look at YouTube recommendations. Also, this is us at 35 millimeters. So I'll back up in a second, but I'll stay here for the time being. Yeah, you find yourself like you'll search up best cine lens for FX30 if you have an FX30 or like FX3. And you're going to get a lot of sponsored content. Here, let me kneel down. Also, 35 millimeters on the FX30. I'm going to stop saying that. I feel like if you're watching this video and you've continued watching this video, you know what it is. Also, am I in focus? So my camera, I should mention that my camera is in autofocus mode, and I don't know the specifications for this 18-105, but every camera has its like minimum distance for autofocus. Oh, that seems pretty good, huh? Anyway, I shot with this the other day and I felt like something was out of focus and I didn't know and I was super zoomed in. So maybe I should have stepped back a little bit. Anyways, yeah. So of all my searching that I've been doing for my best like budget cine lens, cause I don't have a bunch of money. I really like the way that these Samyang Cine V autofocus lenses look. Yeah. So today, the reason this test is happening is I want to, I'm probably going to buy the 24 millimeter Samyang lens first because that's just like the most versatile for me right now. I'm really feeling that focal length on the FX30 body. And then, they have a 35, a 45, and a 75, and a 100. So yeah. Actually, we're going to test all those focal lengths. We've already done the 18. We've done 24. This is 35. And then we'll do 45, 75, and 100. So if you stick around, that's what you're going to get for the rest of this video. So 35 millimeters, 4.5 feet away. Let's step back. We are at 35 millimeters, 6.5 feet away. So that's what that looks like. Very tight. And like I said, this camera's on sticks. I'm going to move a little closer really quick. If I was doing the shoulder mounted filming like I plan to do for this little sitcom thing that I want to do, it'll be a little bit higher, but I don't want to move my my setup right now. It's not that kind of day. This is kind of an impromptu shoot, and we're not going to expel too much energy making this happen, or else it'll never get done. But I could lift this up a little bit, but here we are, 6.5 feet away at 35 millimeters, still f6. Nothing's changed. Nothing will change for the duration of this video as far as aperture goes and position of the camera. The only thing changing is the zoom and where I stand. So that's what it looks like 6.5 feet away. Maybe I can kneel down if I was short, you know. Cool. Final position. We're 8.5 feet away at 35 millimeters. So I feel like the rest of the video is going to go pretty fast because I feel like I've just been like rambling. I don't know how much more rambling I have to do, but 8.5 feet at 35 millimeters. And you know, you can get even further back. So even though I don't have a, you know what? No better time than present. So let's see, 8.5 feet, and we'll give ourselves 10.5 feet. Where does that look like? 10.5 feet is about right here. So I'll use this line that's on the floor to be my reference. So this is 10.5 feet. 10.5 feet from the 35 millimeter focal length. We're at 35 millimeters. The camera lens is 10.5 feet away from my face. So that's what this looks like. I do really want to get into some like longer focal length stuff. I can already imagine what the 70 or even 45 from here. So 10.5 feet away at 45 millimeters. What is 45 millimeters on a APS-C body? Right now we're at 35 millimeters. So 35 times 1.5. So technically, whatever these numbers mean, this is a 52.5 millimeter focal length on a full frame camera. I don't know if you know what all that stuff means, you know, help me, help a guy out, you know, but on my lens, we are at 35 millimeters on this APS-C sensor. So let's turn this to, and that was 10.5 feet away. So boop, 10.5 feet away. This is what it looks like. This is what you can fit in the frame. I'm also uploading this in 4:3 because that's just what we're on now, man. It just feels better. Looks like a painting, you know? Yeah, 10.5 feet away, 8.5 feet away, 6.5 feet away, 4.5 feet away, barely 0 feet away. How about that? Oh, are we focused too? Oh, not bad. All right, cool. So, let's get the 45 on there. Or you know what? I am not opposed to. I don't even think I like that. So we're gonna go real. I doubt if I get the 45, it'll be because I want to cover all my bases, but that's not something I want to purchase right off the bat. So we'll skip 45 and we'll do 75. My lens isn't zooming to 75, so we'll just go. It just goes from 74 to 76, so we'll kind of go in the middle. Now, are we going to get into some focusing things? Okay, no, it is focusing. I wonder what the focusing distance is for this lens. If anybody knows the minimum focusing distance, does it change from 18 to 105, or does it stay consistent? Is it like, what is that, parafocal? Is that what it's called? Anyway, so this is at 75-ish. It's between 74 and 76 on the lens, but that's where we are right now. I'm 4.5 feet away. I'm kneeling. This is me standing straight up, you know. You know what? And for science, I will tell you how far the camera is off the ground. So from the floor to the bottom of the lens, the camera is 61 feet. Or 61 feet. Yeesh, I'm a giant, right? No, it's 61 inches. So what? That's 5.1 or 61. That's 5.1, right? Yep. So camera is about 5 feet 1 inches from the ground, and this is what it looks like. 4.5 feet away from the tip of the lens, at approximately 75 millimeters. I'm 6'2", so I gotta kneel down, you know. But that's what that looks like. Cool, you know, it's like a nice, and the thing about this lens is, you know, if you're at fully f4, being able to zoom in and fill the frame up, you'll get a nice bokeh. I know f4 isn't necessarily associated with bokeh, but it's possible with this lens. Anyway, let's step back. So now we are at 6.5 feet at approximately 75 millimeters. Me kneeling down again, but a little bit better, you know, kind of looks like a talking head, huh? Yeah. So let's go back 8.5 feet. Kind of get my body in there a bit. Again, kneeling down, hello. This is what that looks like. Maybe if you had two people talk, oh, wait, what am I doing? Two people talking, am I in the frame? No, I'm not in the frame. Have two people talking like that from 8.5 feet away at 75 millimeters. Hello, I don't know if I'm in the frame or not. Maybe I am, yikes. Knees, right? You grow up and you always hear about like, oh man, when you get older, your knees, that's a real thing. That's not a fable. That's not a story people tell. Your knees, from when you're younger to as you get older, your knees do not get better. And I'm not saying like, oh man, like they just get shot, but it's like, yeah, I just feel them now. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say I feel my knees now at the age that I am. But just about 10.5 feet away, the lens is approximately 75 millimeters, and this is what it looks like. Obviously, if there was more room to back up, 75 millimeters might be the right focal length for you, but I don't have that much space right now. So 10.5 feet away at 75 millimeters, f 5.6. Just for poops and giggles, let's go to the final focal length. They are about to release, Samyang is about to release a 100 millimeter focal length. And since we can go that high on this particular lens, let's try it. So, final test of this video. Yikes. Sony FX30. We are shooting using the Sony 18-105 f4 lens. Our aperture, our f-stop right now is at 5.6. This is 100 millimeters on this APS-C sensor with this particular lens, and I'm 4.5 feet away. So that's kind of cool, yeah. Here I am at 4.5 feet away on the Sony FX30 with the Sony 18-105. I really like this lens. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of use out of it, and it's really, really handy to have such a wide focal length to be able to determine what kind of prime I want to invest in. And that's what this video is for. And hopefully, if you're looking for some references on what focal lengths look like on the FX30, hopefully this video is a guide to you. So 4.5 feet away from the tip of the lens at 100 millimeters. So step back. Woo. 6.5. Remember that thing about the knees? It's happening. All right, so yeah, now we're starting to get some like focal. I was in focus over here, huh? So let's see. Uh-oh. All right. So that's 4.5. Can you keep my face? All right, there we go. So this is 6.5 feet away at 100 millimeters. So that's cool. 4.5. That's nice too, kind of intimate, you know. But yeah, oh, let's go. That's 6.5. We're gonna go to 8.5. 8.5 feet away. Oh, there we go. That's the middle right there. So that's pretty cool. Kind of like that. There we go. Talking to somebody. Hey, what's up? Character. Oh, nothing. You know. Ah, baby. Whew. 8.5 feet away. 100 millimeters. Sony FX30. Sony 18-105. And if I was behind the camera, like, I can see that I'm not in focus. If I was behind the camera, I'm not too worried about what's happening with the focus right now because I'd be doing all the focus stuff. Ideally, you have somebody operating the camera that would make sure things are in focus. But if you're wondering how the autofocus is on this lens, there you go. This is what we're doing. This is the test. I hope this was helpful to somebody out there. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to upload this straight. No edit. My name is Nico. This is going on the Studio6.Fish YouTube channel page. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Have fun shooting and doing more YouTube University research. I will be uploading some stuff soon. All right, guys. See you later.